You have until 11:59. What's up? Wait, hold on. Fire off another message here. You got about 2 more minutes before we come together.
We're doing the standard one practice test?
No, the suggested practice. The actual test you're gonna do later. It's very repetitive, but I think it's kind of that way on purpose. Like just, and then your brain gets named by, like it just gives you over and over again, like the same language. I don't know. I found it good, especially for like special education. I forget what else in there, but I use that a lot. And I would just sit and read 15 days at a time to do something else. I can see that to read some more.
Yeah, I got it. Finally got it scheduled Friday morning.
Nice, perfect.
You know what, man? So,
Yeah.
second time.
It'll be easy. It'll be easy the second
I
time.
hope, right? Thanks, man.
Yeah. If you are virtual, check your chat. Some of you received a message saying that you need to take your standard 8 test. Let me show you where that is in Canvas because there was some confusion. Again, it is not on USA Test Prep. This is like a normal unit test for us.
We have to.
There is no password or anything. So I'm gonna go all the way down when my module loads here. It's gonna be under, it's under standard 7 and 8 assessment. It's gonna be right here, standard 8 test. Okay, so that's for those of you at home too that still need to take it. So you have until 11:59 tonight, or it's gonna go in as a 0. Many of you have already taken it, you did pretty well on it. But the people that received messages, I got about 8 people in this class who still need to take it. So don't do it during class. Let's do it this afternoon. Okay? And if you have issues or something with it, shoot me an email. Everyone see it? People that I was talking to? All right, let's come together. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna set up the Nearpod. It's a live thing, so you have to log into it. This is something that you're gonna have access to. Down the road. And when you join, I'm gonna share this with you. Put this in the chat for all of you. For those of you in the classroom, go to join.nearpod.com. And this is for everyone. This is not an optional thing. This is expected that all of you are logging in and participating in this. This is something that that's gonna last most of class. So go to join.nearpod.com, and that's the code. Put it up, you can write it up on the board for you. FJL. What's the other one? EDX?
Yeah.
So we should be logging in right here. Join.nearpod.com. Or if you're at home, you're using that link.
Yeah. Oh. Let's see. The David Henry.
We're gonna wait until everyone's logged in. So I'm looking for Nos. Looking for Bonnie. Looking for India. Oh, Bonnie's in. Good. Looking for India.
Yeah, it says not valid.
Good, Shelby. Looking for Victoria. DJ, are you in? Where? How come I don't see you on there? Am I?
I'll try to do one again.
Like, am I missing you on here? I don't see you. It's okay, Ethan. Ethan, we're logging into Nearpod right now. So here's the link. Go ahead and log into that. How many of you have used Nearpod before? Okay, so some of you are pretty familiar with this. Do you use it in science? Or just another class? Good. I really like it. I just have such limited library space in here, so I save it for my reviews. Because I do a lot with my AP classes in here too. My maximum library limit. But I'm still looking for some people. What's going on? Devin, are you in? Pause that, join this. Because we're gonna do all this together. You're gonna get a lot of good stuff in here. Samantha, you in? Really? Where?
It just says code's invalid on my lines.
Yeah, that's what mine says.
It does?
Yeah, you can check on my screen. Blue.
I don't believe you. Where? Oh, there you are. You popped up. Where's Manny? No, Manny's not on it.
I just said.
Manny might be on it now.
Oh, it still doesn't work. Give up. Really. Look, that's
No, go, I get what you're saying. Did you go to join.nearpod.com?
no.
Try that. Join.nearpod.com. See if that gives you a different screen. There you go. F, capital F, J, L, 8, F.
Oh, S. I was putting 5 this whole time.
Oh, yeah, I know that. That's my fault. Okay, let's do it. Thank you for waiting. Let's do this now. Okay, so today, here's what you're going to see. All right, this is a nice mixture of all kinds of things. You're going to get practice questions. You're going to get matching. You're going to get graphic organizer pages that you have to complete. You're going to get some direct instruction like lecture type review as well. So it's all built in. You're going to be asked to answer a few short answer questions. So Yeah, this is gonna take most of the time. And what I love about this is it's gonna flip it over to you. Like, you're gonna have to show what you know. And, you're expected to do it every step of the way. So our first one, are those warm-up questions? You should get 7 of them. And these should be questions you haven't seen before. These are all standard 1 questions. It's kind of like a pre-test type deal. And they're not USA test prep questions, but they're old EOC questions from blast in the past. Do that first. Also, take your time through these. I love this because I can see you working or not working. So you're being held accountable every step of the way today. We don't have time to waste. Lexi, nice work. Good job. Trey, good job. There's supposed to be, like, I tried to put 1 from each, like, little indicator in standard 1.
Yeah.
Bonnie, you should be answering questions right now. Manny, same with you. Oh, I know what I wanted to ask. And what do can you go back? Do you have the ability to go back on a slide? Okay. I'm curious, like, if we move on, like, when I move on to the next thing, can you go back to a previous activity?
As soon as you go to the next line, you go to the next line, can't yourself.
And you can't go back?
Unless
Do you get what I'm asking? Like, when we move on to our next activity, could you go back?
I mean, it's people are still working it right now, and you turn on, they would go to, you typically, if you go back and stuff, then they would go back to your stuff, so.
Okay.
That makes sense.
It does. Yeah, I mean, you have control over it, that's what I like. At this point, you should be close to being done. Does it allow you to change your answer if it's wrong?
Yeah. You could end it and throw it on the side. Okay.
So like if you're sitting there with a 1 out of 7, you can go back and change your answers.
You feel comfortable with one, it's okay.
Didn't know if you heard that, but if you finished and you have incorrect answers, go back and change your answers. Might be a good thing to do while you wait. All right. So what I like about this is we can kind of blend everything that we do in here. So what we're going to do now is we're going to spend about 5 minutes reviewing the colonial regions. I'm going to flash 3 or 4 slides up here, and then you're going to be doing a few things with this information. All of these PowerPoints are shared on that review page. So if you want these PowerPoints, they're there. Now, we talked regions. Remember, we have 3. We have the New England region, the Middle Colonies, and the Southern Colonies. And in each one of these regions, you need to be aware of religious connections, their economies, and their geography. And so that's what we're going to hit in each one of these. So in the New England region, we think about strict religious principles with Puritans. Puritans left England because they wanted to purify the Church of England. They're not open to other religions. Okay, so they're very strict, very boring and plain. It's kind of the way to think about it. We talk about New England's economy. They don't have soil that allows them to grow large amounts of crops. That rocky soil and those long winters force New England to rely on other things like shipbuilding, trading, fishing, the things that happen along the coast. And so when we talk about the society, we're talking about lots of choices or churches, but also a foundation built on education. The New England colonies, the middle colonies, are exactly kind of the opposite. They're diverse. There's lots of different religions present in the middle colonies. When we talk about the middle colonies, we're talking about places like Pennsylvania, New York, New Jersey. These colonies attracted Quakers, they attracted Catholics. They have a pretty diverse economy, also known as the breadbasket. And then if we think about the southern colonies, we've talked about this before. Religion isn't as important in the South yet. We have an economy that's built on plantations and cash crops. And we have few towns and cities because most of this property are big plots of land for plantations. Maryland, South Carolina, North Carolina, Virginia would be our southern colonies. I left out Georgia. Government. Always see questions on the government. We need to know that colonies are self-governing at this time, meaning that they are ruling themselves. Yes, they're still connected to Great Britain, but because of salutary neglect, the idea is that the colonies, because of their distance, are ruling themselves locally. They have representative governments. They're electing people to make decisions for them. Examples of representative democracy or representative governments would be the Virginia House of Burgesses. The Mayflower Compact's another example of this. You see those over and over again, and almost always there's a question about it. The idea of salutary neglect is that Great Britain is going to let the colonies act independently as long as they are making money for Great Britain, or until they get in trouble, and they're going to get in trouble with Native Americans. That point of conflict is going to be an issue for England. So, knowing what you know, you are going to complete this graphic organizer. You should be able to add text in each one of these boxes. You're focusing on economic activities, government, religion, and geographic features.
What time frame is this?
Colonies, 13 colonies. Colonial America. Before their independence. Like here, can you go back and look at the slides? Oh, you only got this. Gotcha. That's good. Yeah, that's good. Gonna give you 8 minutes. Here's your timer to create that graphic organizer. The other thing that I can do, if you look at my screen just to show you, I can see who's working and who isn't working. So waiting drawing means you haven't started. You're not doing anything. I can see your progress going on the screen. So Bonnie, you need to get working. India, Joseph, Jasmine. That's why this is a great tool. You can't hide. No hiding in review days. Right? Right. How you doing?
Try to make that microphone.
I think I can see it. Can you see it?
Yeah.
If you need help with like one of these, ask me in the chat, speak up. Same thing with people in here. Like this is meant for you to ask questions if you're having trouble with this. Dwight fell down. I know what it sounds like. Is it? No. And I apologize if Dwight Eisenhower falls on you. He shouldn't. How big his forehead is? We were looking at that the other day. He fell down. Seriously, look at it. Here you are on the timer. You got 5 minutes. Looking good from what I can see on the screen. You know what's great about this too is I can walk up here. Kyra, good job. Yours looks really good. Shelby, you're off to a good start too. Nathan, good job. Good, Caitlin. Keep going, Nos. One box filled in. Keep going, Devin. Actually, good. You can't hide. Samantha back there. Nice. I'll extend our time just a little bit. Really good stuff happening on my screen. You should probably be in the second or third column at this point. Safe and good work. Manny, nice arrow.
I'm too lazy.
What were you trying to do? Move something?
Yeah.
Can you not move it?
No, you have to erase it and do it again.
Did you lock it, Manny? 'Cause
Oh
if
my
you
God.
locked it, then-
No, it gives Manny's personality. Nobody else has an arrow like that on theirs. Look at that. Awesome. Good, Caitlin. Good job. Lexi, make sure you're getting government and geographic stuff in there. Gracie, I think you're doing a good job, but I need a microscope to read your text.
Wow.
Why is it so small? What font is that, like 2.5?
No, because I'm trying to make it neat and fit in the box.
I'm sure it is very neat.
I don't want it.
Can you read it?
Yes, I like it their
Oh,
own.
yeah, you can read it, yeah. Yeah. Okay.
I want to make it.
You're doing such a good job.
What?
Where did you get this idea from?
Space.
No, the Nearpod.
I've been doing it for a while. I just haven't done it with you guys.
Because my son kind of does these.
Yeah, I know.
All the time.
Uh,
But the chemistry ones are worse. They're just.
I've used them off and on for like the past 3 years and different things. I've used them for ESG reviews before. I wish I had, I don't have an updated, like an upgraded account, so like there's only so many of these that I can store. So I try to use them strategically. Do you like them in chemistry?
No. I mean,
Like, let me ask.
actually, I like it better because she can see
Yeah.
our work. And so,
Do you feel like it may be more work, but do you feel like you learn better with it?
yeah.
Yeah.
Because you like, I don't know, if you're doing a Kahoot or something, you can just press whatever.
Yeah.
And like, she can't see how you got the answer. So she'll take the time. Like,
This makes you, yeah, it makes your work feel valued.
Work on it.
what is the third column
Right,
after?
picture governments. Is that the one you're asking about, Gracie?
No, for the what we're most colonists.
Oh,
What does that mean? That's the fourth row. Dominant religion?
dominant religion?
Oh, okay, never mind.
Sorry, Trey, I was looking at the wrong column.
Well, see, I have to read the instruction. I'll print this, I'll print it in the class.
Are we talking religion? You're having a hard time with that one?
No, I got it. I was doing, class. I think Catholic.
So in New England, are we talking about Puritans?
Yes.
Just think like pilgrims.
No, pudding.
So in New England, we're thinking Puritans. Middle, a little bit of everything, right? We have Catholics, we have Quakers. In the South, religion isn't as big of a deal at this point. If you're listening, that could have filled those in.
Oh,
MG.
it just deleted my stuff.
What?
Look,
Got 3 minutes for talk.
I don't have a single thing on my thing anymore.
No way.
It deleted all of my work.
Oh my god.
Manny, shut
Not
up.
up here. Still here.
I'm walking.
What do you
all my
mean?
stuff down.
I still have it.
Why don't I have it?
There's all your tiny font.
Yeah. Okay.
So you just need to do geography.
All right.
Ethan, were you able to hop back in? Looks like you are. I see you at the bottom there. Good job, Nos. Keep going. Laura, I see you working. Good job. Getting close to finishing up. Here's your time before we move on to our next activity. That's okay, India. I wonder why. All right, so before we move on, let's talk quickly about some of these. I'm going to use Samantha's as an example real quick on the screen. We already just talked about religion. As far as economic activities in the North and New England, you need to be aware of the fact that they were active in shipbuilding, trading, fishing, lumbering, kind of a little bit of everything. In the middle colonies, farming was definitely a thing because of their soil. We also talked a little bit about them, there's some big port cities in Philadelphia and Baltimore and New York City, so trading through shipping and whatnot is still important there as well. In the South, you have those plantation systems. Usually the two big questions you get, though, revolve around either religion or government. So if you are able to point out in each one of those colonies where different religions fell and also examples of government, you're in good shape. So if you're talking about New England, the Mayflower Compact is a good example of representative government, self-governing as well. Virginia House of Burgesses in the middle colonies. And yeah, as far as the geographic stuff, it looks like the ones I looked over look pretty good. So we're going to keep moving at this point. So submit what you have. I'm curious for a couple things. So I want you to submit it, and I want to see what at the end. I want to see if you have access to all this down the road. Do you know if you can, like at the end of it, if you can go back and review it?
You don't.
You don't? We're going to see if we can. All right, so here's the next thing. Again, I'm asking you so many different ways. You haven't figured out yet, like we're just on colonial regions. And we're going to move into the Revolution, And, you know what, actually, I'm gonna skip this for right now, because you guys hit that, and I don't wanna run out of time. So let's talk about the revolution, okay? So you should have this on your screen. We talked an awful lot about the American Revolution and how and why it came about. Obviously, this is what leads to America's independence from Great Britain. But we know before the revolution, the relationship is built on that idea of salutary neglect. You must know that term, okay? The idea that colonies can be self-sufficient and govern themselves as long as they don't run into trouble. The trouble that the colonies run into are really twofold: conflict with Native Americans and the French and Indian War. Remember how the French and Indian War created all that debt for the British. And after the French and Indian War, the British had to then tax the colonies because they had to make money. Now, when we talk about the Constitution, we talk about salutary neglect, the colonists are British, which means that they grew up learning in a system about British law. The idea that representative government, whether it's a Mayflower Compact, whether it's the House of Burgesses, whether it's Parliament, government in England was run by representation. This same concept is applied to then the Declaration of Independence and then later the Constitution. So there's a very heavy influence of British law in American government. So we talk about causes of war, the idea of salutary neglect, the need to raise taxes because of the amount of debt that the British were in. And as a result, colonists become upset. Why are colonists upset? You cannot forget this point. Colonists don't resist taxes. They're upset with taxes because they feel like they don't have accurate representation in England. They will pay taxes if they get to vote on them. But if they don't have representation, then they see it as taxation without representation, and they refuse to pay things like the Stamp Act, or that tax on stamps, or the Townsend Acts. These terms you should kind of hear some of these should kind of come back. The Tea Act. All right, these are all taxes that were decided upon in England and placed on the colonies. Forms of colonial resistance. The colonies begin to resist. The Sons of Liberty, that group founded in Boston to essentially protest these taxes. We talk about the Boston Massacre, where you had 5 colonists run down by the British in the streets of Boston. The committees of correspondence was the way in which these Sons of Liberty, the groups like the Sons of Liberty and these colonists would communicate secretly amongst colony to colony without the British finding out. And then the last straw was the Intolerable Acts. This is when the British locked down Boston Harbor. This is when they forced Boston residents to house British troops. And essentially Boston was put on martial law. The war breaks out. And after this, we have Lexington and Concord, and we have the American Revolution. Understand, too, that the Declaration of Independence comes before the war even ends. All right, that was essentially the American colonists' breakup letter with the British. And then we have we have independence, we have the Articles of Confederation, and then the Constitution. So here's your next step. I'm going to give you a couple resources, places to look, too. When you answer this question, this is a short answer question. This is a good way to show that you understand. In the link at the top here, it will be linked to the content reader from 1.2. So if you're having a hard time kind of remembering or wrapping your head against the things that led America to fight for independence, open this link, and that gives you a good background read. So you You could totally use that. All right, so you have 10 minutes here to form a short answer. Ready? Go. I know I got started. Started. You have 8 minutes, sorry. There's your content reader up there in the corner that you can open. This is the one I filled out. 5 minutes, and it's going to call for your response. A lot of people in here are using the content reader, which is great. It's a good resource for you. Three minutes. So when I share something, it pops right on your screen, doesn't it? Forgot about that. Good, Nathan. Danny, good start to yours too. Good job. We should be wrapping them up. A lot of you are. Good work. Work, 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 work. Did this work this time for you, Gracie?
Yeah. Ew,
Under a minute.
that's so fast.
What are you doing back here? Huh?
Work.
Work.
Work. Yes. Hey.
30 seconds.
You look so young and cute.
Ew, that's so fat.
I'm liking on my video.
Ew.
I don't think you were here that day. No.
Hey, so with this one, you should have had a couple things. Number one, you should have had something in there about sanitary neglect, colonists being able to kind of act independently until the British raised taxes on them. Again, they felt like it was unfair to be taxed since they did not have that power to decide it. Now, the other thing that in terms of causes that I saw somewhere, I was looking for it somewhere here, somebody said it, exactly it was. But the quartering, yeah,
Why did I
this is a really good one. So the quartering of troops is another thing that pushed colonists over the edge. The violence that took place after things like the Boston Massacre was another one. Those intolerable acts. So as you study, like these are terms, if you're hearing these things and you're going, man, I do not remember what these are terms that you need to go back and study because you could very much see these again. All right, now, America wins the revolution. The British are forced to recognize their independence. And again, we've talked about this many times. The Constitution is not the first form of government for the United States. We have the Articles of Confederation first. They fail for many reasons, right? The central government is not strong enough. There is no executive branch, which means that there's no president. So under the Articles of Confederation, the biggest thing that you need to remember is that the central government is weak. States are acting as if they are their own countries. The government has no ability to tax. Congress not only cannot issue taxes, but they can also regulate trade amongst states. And so we don't have a national court system either. So the need for those branches of government that will be drawn up with the Constitution to strengthen the power of the central government is incredibly important. There's no national military either. The Articles relied, or Congress relied on states to supply their own armies and militias in the time of war. There is one thing, however, that the Articles of Confederation do well. That is the Northwest Ordinance, organizing territory that was acquired after the war. Places like Ohio, Michigan, Indiana, this is that Northwest territory. So the Northwest Ordinance was the way in which Western lands or new lands were going to be divided up. So that was one success. So as we move forward, here's what you're asked to do. All right, you are asked to take a sticky note, and I want you to place at least one or two. I'd like for you to try to place one strength and one weakness of the Articles of Confederation. You're going to be able to post a lot of weaknesses, but whatever sticky note you do post, please put at the title whether it's a strength or a weakness. All right, so in the next few minutes, your goal here is to post.
Wait, how do I post? Oh, never mind.
What's that? Oh, you can't put a message in there?
It's just one thought.
You can just put weakness and that's it?
Yeah.
It's like, oh, simple,
Oh,
like a simple
okay.
thought.
When I pressed enter, it posted it, so I thought I would be able to read this as something else.
Yeah. I see what you're saying. Okay, so disregard what I said about strength or weakness because there are multiple lines. Put your strength or weakness down on that line, like Manny did. So Nathan, I'm going to delete this one. Samantha, same with you. Thanks for doing what you're supposed to. I didn't realize there was only one line. So like, we should be doing what Manny and India are doing. Be as specific as possible. No power, how? Why are they weak? Good, Caitlin. What do you mean by that, Trey? Like they can't issue taxes, they don't have a military, those things. Okay, that's the reason I'm asking that is those are going to be the specifics you see in the question. Good, Shikara, Northwest Ordinance. Haven't seen anything from Jasmine. Good, India. Waiting to see Nas's name pop up with something. See Melora, Shelby. Specific weaknesses.
Oh, that's a lot of sticky notes.
Good, DJ. How, Bonnie? What is power in this moment in terms of talking about the weaknesses of the Articles of Confederation? So far, I have seen they don't have the ability to tax. I've seen that there is no executive branch. I've seen that there is not being able to enforce interstate trade regulations. No court, good. And then its strength, I've seen it, Caitlin said it, Skyra said it, somebody else said it in here as well. The Northwest Ordinance, so dividing up Western lands was a strength. That was one thing that they actually did well. Good. Okay. I'm going to keep us moving along here. This is the area in Standard 1 that we struggle with the most. It is by far the most difficult piece of Standard 1. So I need you to listen in for these 5 minutes, and then I'm going to flip it around on you. Okay? These are slides that I think not only have I shared with you, but I think they're a really good quick review of the Constitution. So one of the issues with the idea, let me rephrase that. Because the Articles of Confederation were a major failure, Shays' Rebellion happened in Massachusetts. Those farmers that were upset about taxes, they took control of courthouses throughout Massachusetts. It created major panic. That rebellion opened everyone's eyes to the idea that the Articles aren't working. So the Constitutional Convention was held. That was the discussion of delegates from every state to rewrite the government. In the beginning, it was to fix the Articles of Confederation. They realized very quickly that an entire new system needed to be created. So there were two issues at the convention. One had to do with representation. We've talked about this, right? How are these states going to have representation in this new government? Are big states going to have the same power as the really little states? Or are the big states going to have a little bit more say? So we're going to have that conversation about population. The Virginia plan was that idea where the states with the larger population would have more representation. The New Jersey plan was a small state plan that essentially gave every state the same amount of representatives. These were the two plans. They were combined to form the Great Compromise. Out of that, we get a bicameral legislature, which means we have two houses. We have the Senate, where there's equal representation, and we have the House of Representatives, which is essentially the Virginia plan, where population or representation is based on population. So you will see those terms. The other main issue at that convention was the issue of slavery and how that met with representation. The term or the concept that we discussed a lot at the beginning of the school year was the 3/5 compromise. How was the slave population going to be factored into representation? So those two issues, slavery and representation, were the major roadblocks in the Constitutional Convention. We then get the Constitution, right? And we'll talk about balance of power and separation of powers and all that in a moment. But there are two political groups or two groups that emerge out of this. You have the Federalists, who support a strong central government. They like the Constitution the way it is. And then you have the Anti-Federalists, who will become people like Thomas Jefferson, who fear a strong central government. They fear a government that was something similar to what England, what they just left. So they wanted more protection for individual rights. As a result, you saw this was a benchmark question. As a result, the Bill of Rights is added. The Bill of Rights is added because it's the protection of people's individual rights and liberties within the Constitution for the first 10 amendments. This makes the Anti-Federalists happy. The Constitution is ratified or approved. I love this chart. This is a chart that if you're taking screenshots or pictures of these slides, which you most definitely can do, this is a good one to do it with. So we have the three branches of government. Not only does it have each branch of government's responsibility, legislative branch, which is composed of the House of Representatives and the Senate, the executive branch, the president, the judicial branch being the court system, This shows you not only the powers are separated and that they are equal, but through this system of checks and balances, they check one another and maintain that power is equal and shared. So when you see those terms all the time. I've thrown a million questions at you about checks and balances and separation of power. We're dividing the power of the federal government, but we're making sure it's equal. And that every branch has a share and an equal share of that power. Examples of that would be presidents vetoing laws passed by Congress, impeachment, the Supreme Court declaring something unconstitutional. Those are examples of checks. And then there's your separation of powers chart there as well. So here's your next piece. Those terms we just talked about, completing another quick graphic organizer on that. I know. You can't just sit there and zone out.
So fun. Oh my god.
And it's 10:37, so.
Mhm. And we've got through almost all of standard one, which is really good.
Work it.
What?
Waiting on some people. Bonnie, Joseph, Nas. Sam, what are you doing back there? Ethan?
Like a definition in the middle and then what's in right? This is saying at the top, but they can't see it. Oh wait, never mind. Now I can.
What, I can't.
You press the arrow on the left,
Oh.
and then you can see it. I didn't know what was supposed to go in the boxes.
Definition.
And
Why is it? Why is it?
gross. Too early for this. Like, 30 minutes ago.
I hope something's good for me. I'm so
Look at that.
Right.
Just Google these. Have to put in your own words. Listen,
I don't feel like typing.
I'll be as brutally honest with you as I possibly can. I do not have patience over the next 2 weeks for laziness and people cutting corners. We're doing this because all of these things are going to be on your exam. And if you don't know them, then we should be spending that time over the next 2 weeks to relearn them, to ask questions so that we are prepared. So by just hitting submit on one of these activities, by just sitting back and not doing it, I don't know how else to say it, guys. I'm trying to be as nice as possible. I don't have patience for that, okay? Now, at the very same point, I'm very happy with the level of participation and your effort today, so keep it up. I just want you to know that's where I stand over the next 2 weeks.
Just some more testimonies.
You can Google the term and then put it in your own words. Shouldn't be straight copy and paste it.
Who does that?
Not me.
I think it's not at all.
Good job, Caitlin. Keep going. DJ, new work, man. You too. Keep
Separation
going.
of power.
Oh my God, if one more box disappears.
Did you just say?
before I touch it.
What are you stuck on?
Nothing.
No, that's fine. So like for things like checks and balances, like your explanation for significance, definition, either one should be something along the lines of that no branch of government is more powerful than the other. Separation of powers, making sure that each branch has equal power and have different responsibilities. That's the type of language and just kind of the type of explanation that you should have. Federalism. Idea of a federal, state, and local government. Individual rights, things that are protected by the Bill of Rights, freedom of speech, religion, right to a fair trial. What's a veto?
I have no idea.
Can you go over these real quick? I'm gonna run through them real quick. So federalism, that definition, is the division of power between federal, state, and local government. But also knowing that the federal government is always going to be supreme. Checks and balances, we just talked about it. Each branch has the ability to check the power of the other branches. So examples of that being, we're going to talk about a veto here in a minute, but Congress approving cabinet members, the Supreme Court being able to rule something unconstitutional. Separation of powers, the idea that government is divided between, or power is divided between three branches that all have different responsibilities, that all are equally important. Veto. This is the president's ability to reject a law that's passed by Congress. So this is the president's ability to check the power of Congress. That veto can then be overridden by Congress. Electoral college, that's been in the news an awful lot. Process in which we use to elect the president. Each state is awarded a certain number of electoral votes based on their population. Just mentioned individual rights. Republicanism is the idea of a representative government. That should help you. At this point, we're going to keep going so we have our exit ticket. If this is a graphic organizer that you like these terms, if you want to take a picture of this or screenshot this so you have it, this would be a good thing to do. Okay, these are terms. What's that? If you like this graphic organizer in terms of you think that these words, either you're having a hard time with them or you think this is a good study tool, which it is, this would be a good thing to take a picture of or screenshot. All right, you also need to know, as we kind of move on from standard 1, that we have Federalist and Democratic Republican views. These are the first 2 political parties. You will see Democratic Republican questions or Federalist questions. Hamilton was the leader of the Federalist Party, strong government. Again, believed that people were kind of incapable of ruling themselves and that there needed to be wealthy, elite, educated people in the government. He supported the idea of a national bank, this idea of loose constructionism, and of bending the Constitution to fulfill the needs of the people. This is another really good slide to have, to know. Supported by merchants, wealthier people, urban people. Thomas Jefferson, Democratic Republicans, distrusted strong central government. Wanted people, their rights to be protected, wanted more power to be in the states. He was against the national bank, was a believer in strict constructionism, like it had to be written word for word in the Constitution. Supported by farmers and rural people. Good slide to have. The Supreme Court. John Marshall is the first Supreme Court Chief Justice that is really in charge of ruling on the side of the federal government. He strengthens the power of the federal government. And that's something that you see a question with him, know and associate John Marshall with a strong federal government. Marbury versus Madison gives the Supreme Court that ability to review laws that they view are unconstitutional and strike them down. That's called judicial review. Court case fits with that. Again, the Constitution is the supreme law of the land. Here's some matching as our exit ticket. Matches a lot of these terms. All of these terms can be found on Quizlet, which is also in your module. This is your last responsibility for today. Samantha.
I have a question. If you're online, do you have to show up to school for the exam?
No.
For the EOC?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a state thing. Pretty good, critical, huh?
Oh my God. I was asking. Because Alexa's saying that she doesn't know if she can, she would have to.
That's why, tell her
I'm done.
two things. I'm gonna spend some more time talking about that tomorrow, but that's why I'm letting you guys know now, so we can begin to kind of make some plans for that. I think there's going to be a Saturday option too, the Saturday before she can come in Saturday morning and take it. I can see who's attempting and who isn't. Right, Manny?
Yeah.
Right.
Like click and drag and match thing.
Gracie, good job. As you finish, last thing I want you to do is just leave me a message in the chat. Let me know how you're doing, what you thought of today, whether you got a lot out of this. But again, you should be finishing your matching first. Some of you are at this point, which is great. Some of you have just totally given up. You've tried like 3 times and stopped. That needs to be finished before the end here. Okay, so I need to address that in person.